Frank Klose has the mailbag, as he has it posted right now at 97.3ESPN.com, and he joins us with a look at the mailbag questions. Welcome back, Frank. How are you?
I'm doing well, guys. How are you?
We were discussing your trip to Minnesota the last time we were on the air, and we were saying how you couldn't find anything to do in Minnesota. Did you end up finding the place to be in Minnesota? Because a lot of people said it's a great little town.
It is a nice little town. The Mill City Museum, they have a history of having those flour mills right on the Mississippi River there. So there's a neat little museum about it. I'd recommend if you're in Minneapolis, you check it out. So that was kind of cool. And then the Mall of America isn't that far away. Being that the King of Prussia Mall is pretty close, it's not much different except there's a roller coaster in it. But they are a very nice little town, really nice ballpark. I do recommend checking it out, but not in the winter apparently.
All right, Frank, let's get to the mailbag questions right away here. A lot of Philly stuff. Nice win last night. They come from behind. First time they've done that after the 8th inning. They win a series for the first time in over a month, and they're actually going to be in action in about an hour from now. But one story that keeps creeping up is Aaron Nola. Last week there was a mailbag question about Franco. He seems to have turned it around a bit since that question. How about Nola? What's the end result for him? Would the Phillies consider sending him down to the minors? That's from Dan.
Yeah, I think the Phillies are going to hold pat for right now and keep Aaron Nola in the major league. If you look at Nola's 4 starts, his last 4 starts were the ones that were really problematic. Hasn't even pitched 4 full innings in any of those 4 starts. But when you watched him the last start, I thought he just looked all over the place. He looked to me like somebody who was just sort of like a mental mess. He was hitting batters. He was so wild. It was so uncharacteristic of Nola. I know some people ask maybe, well, do you think he has a dead arm or something like that? But I think it's just, if you look at Aaron Nola's career, he was the best kid in Little League, best kid in high school, best guy in college, and he went through the minor leagues so fast, he never really had a chance to experience any type of failure. So I think this is just Aaron Nola not knowing what to do when he had a couple of bad starts, and I think it's kind of getting to him, and he was trying too hard, overthrowing. That's really what I saw from Aaron Nola. So I think at this point, since this is the rebuilding year, you just sort of wait it out. And you knew that guys like Nola and Eichhoff and the other young pitchers are going to take their lumps at some point. And I think Nola is just learning how to deal with a bad couple starts. And I think the more that he gets thrown out there, the more likely it is he'll overcome it.
Frank Klose, 97.3ESPN.com. He has the Phillies mailbag posted every Monday. And Michael wants to know about Jake Thompson, Nick Williams. Now, Nick Williams has this little story going on down there as well that maybe you can give us a little bit more info on. But when will we see those two guys up, if at all?
Well, we'll start with Thompson. Thompson, I think, is going to be the next one called if there's an injury. So if one of the Phillies pitchers goes down and they really need a replacement from the minors, I think he would be it. But other than that, I think he's a pretty good bet for September. There's been some discussion lately about Vince Velasquez limiting his innings. And I think for even guys like Eichhoff, they're going to want to limit their innings a little bit. So I think once rosters expand and then they have the luxury of carrying more arms, I wouldn't be shocked if the Phillies did something like that, like have a 6-man pitching rotation down the stretch so that Thompson isn't throwing too many innings as well. But he'll get some flavor of the major leagues in the fall, because if you look at Thompson's numbers, he's kind of gotten better as the years progressed. His first time in AAA, he got roughed up a little bit. I mean, he wasn't totally bad, but he got roughed up a little to start the year, and he's just been getting better and better and better. And if you look at his June, it's just been absolutely outstanding. So I think he's warranting a September call-up, but I don't think they're going to go to him unless there's an injury before September. Now, Nick Williams, since I posted this on Monday, there's been another issue. On Monday, I wrote about how on June 14th, Nick Williams was benched by Iron Pigs manager Dave Brundage for not running out a little pop-up, which he would have ended up being safe on because the fielder dropped the ball. And not only did he bench him for the rest of that game, he took him out after his second at bat, but he made him sit the next 2 games and watch the games next to Brundage. Now, what happened this time was I believe it was Monday night's game, Nick Williams tapped a little bit a ball back to the pitcher, and in this situation, he threw his helmet instead of running. And so at that point, he got benched again. And hopefully this is not a recurring situation, because if you look at Nick Williams' numbers, he seems to be putting up the numbers that would warrant a promotion, but I think they're not gonna send him to the major leagues until he's willing to have the maturity of a major leaguer. And it's unfortunate because he's got all this talent, but I think that the Phillies will, being that this is the year that they're trying to iron out a lot of these things for the future. I don't think they want to promote him until he really shows that maturity.
Hey, Frank, it's Pete. How about Adam Morgan? Will he stick around on the Phillies in the bullpen? That's what Ricky wants to know.
I think Morgan will. And if you remember way back to spring training when we started chatting, I really thought that was a place where Morgan should have gone this year, because if you look at the Phillies system, you look at some of their promising starters, Morgan doesn't really project to be one of the five in the rotation. He just doesn't. And the Phillies are also very short-handed on left-handed relievers. So if you can get Morgan to be a pretty serviceable left-handed reliever, he could really help this team. Now I know fans like to sometimes overreact and say, "Oh, Adam Morgan stinks." Well, you look where he ran into trouble. It was either like around the 5th or 6th inning, or it was getting started in a game. And sometimes when pitchers do that, it's because they open the game and they're almost afraid to throw their best fastball early, because they're going to be in there for a while. Maybe somebody like Morgan coming out of the bullpen can really let his velocity go, knowing that he's only going to be in there for an inning or two, and not worry. So I would like to see him get this opportunity to see if he can be the left-handed reliever. Luckily for him, I mean, with Elvis Araujo pitching very poorly, and the other left-hander being Brett Oberholzer, who ends up being a long reliever, not really a left-handed guy in the bullpen. There's a real opportunity here for him to step up and see if he can be a reliever that can help the Phillies long-term. So I think it's a good idea to give him the shot now rather than send him to the minors, since they have 5 starters, and really see if he can be a piece for the Phillies for later.
Hey, Frank, this is Billy Schweim. Frank, I was wondering, down at the Double-A level, we have a couple guys that are swinging some hot bats, especially hitting home runs, especially since Tommy Joseph doesn't seem like he's going to be taking over or wooing anybody at first base for the Phils. Any possibility of Dylan Cousins or Ryan Hoskins getting called up, making the big jump?
I don't think they'll make that big a jump. I think if all goes well for both of them, and certainly for Dan Stilnell, Hoskins and Cousins are tied for the league lead with 20 home runs apiece, which is pretty cool at Double-A to have that. But I think they're going to let this ride a while. Reading has the best record in all of professional baseball right now, and I think they're going to really see this out a little while longer for this Reading team. It would be nice if they learn how to win together at Double-A before they move, or who knows, maybe they'll move together to Triple-A. But certainly they're not necessarily blocked in the major leagues. But I really think that for both players, they would want them to have some time at Triple-A and see some of the minor league pitching that has some major league experience, because Double-A, the pitchers are less refined and less disciplined. And so I think there's enough pitchers at Triple-A that have the major league experience, like the Elvis Arujos that just got sent down by the Phillies, for example. These are some guys that at least have had some experience in the major leagues, and will pose for a better challenge for batters like Cousins and Hoskins. So I think that they're going to give them a stint at AAA first. I think they might not even try to even do that this year, but it's very possible.
All right, Frank Klose with us, of course, the mailbag. You can send us or send Frank your mailbag questions every week at Frank Klose 973. That's Klose with a K. Frank Klose 973. Send him a question for the next week's mailbag, and we'll have that for you on Tuesday's show as the Phillies got ready to start the game with Arizona in about half an hour or so.
I'd say 45 minutes, 3:30 start.
3:30, right?
Yeah,
Out there.
2:45 plus 45,
109
3:30.
last night.
You know who could do TV time? Me. You know who can't hold on to his 9-iron? Me.
Yeah, we're down here at the golf course.
Frank, I lost my 9-iron. You said don't throw the helmet. Don't throw your 9-iron into the woods. There's your lesson from the golf course.
Yep. All right, Frank. Enjoy the game today, pal.
Thank you. Enjoy the beautiful weather.